Hello and welcome to this podcast. I'll be speaking about events industries and the current issues that the industry faces. To begin, I feel an introduction is in order. I am a proud third-year events management student at the University of Greenwich. After having spent 17 years in the cocoon of education, I'm really looking forward to entering the dynamic, fast-paced and exciting world of work. I really sincerely hope I won't regret saying that. As liberating as the idea of living education is, it also leaves many students, many of my fellow colleagues, feeling slightly lost at the thought of living a world so familiar and reassuring. Now, when I ask myself, where will I be in September? The answer is, I really don't know. Rather than the reassuring familiar in university and education at the registration desk, writing courseworks, I really have no answer. This is also a time when I can reflect on my decisions that I made during the education. This podcast assignment is a great opportunity to share with you a few actually, of the lessons I have learned from my 3 years at university. I will be exploring my journey from the education to employment. So, since the beginning of the course in 2012, there has always been a recurring question which continues to amuse me. So, what exactly do you learn about events management? Followed by planning parties? Well, as planning party remains popular in the industry, I intend to explain to you there's a lot more to events management than that, and some of what we have learned during our third years here. So, what kind of lessons have I learned? A lot. But looking back on my university experience to date, an underlying aspect which has helped me grow personally and professionally has been mostly group work. For example, in the first year, we were given an assignment, a task of planning and delivering our own charity event. This involved tasks such as sourcing a venue, finding artists to perform, liaising with charity, and constructing a timely program. You can imagine 6 girls, all strong-minded, beautiful, and passionate about events. Yes, at times it was challenging. However, our aim was the same, to host a memorable event. Therefore, although planning parties is still considered a part of events management, it is the communication planning, finance, logistics, and teamwork, and many more that all contribute to the success of an event. These are just some of the valuable skills that event students emerge with, ready to apply to our first jobs. Currently, a module that we're studying is called Contemporary Issues in Events. It's more interesting than it seems. The module provides students with the opportunity to plan and execute their own lectures and tutorials. Our group has yet to lead our sessions. However, we are keen to gain an insight into what leading researchers, our lecturers, as well as students think about our chosen topic, finance and economy in events. Sounds boring? Believe me, it's again more than you think. But this time, during the planning stages, things have been different from the first year. We seem more mature, focused, more calm, and efficient. As a team, I believe we had a clear sense of purpose, unity, each objective or task being discussed openly and freely within the group. Each member showed commitment for a part of the project and for the overall objectives. We were able to identify future problems and re-strategize. In time, creative ideas were promoted. Everyone had their own opinions and they were encouraged to actively participate in the planning and delivering of the lecture. All disagreements were seen as learning experience, as they should be. I really sincerely believe that my future performance will be significantly improved due to the wonderful experience I had by planning this lecture and hopefully delivering it. During the process, I have learned how vital good communication is. I have learned that being open to new ideas and suggestions can increase our chances of success. I have discovered new strengths and weaknesses of myself. Yes, I do have weaknesses. And I realized that sustaining a lecture takes much more focus and time and work and commitment than I initially thought. So, Here you go, our lecturers, I really admit it. You are right, each and every time. The fact that the task proved to be more complex than I firstly perceived it made me take more precautions when anticipating the situation, which I usually didn't used to do. Obviously, my self-confidence has developed a lot, which is partly the reason why I choose to do a podcast instead of a blog. Wow. Next time I'll do a video. In the next 25 minutes, if you care to listen that long, I will be speaking about a few contemporary issues that have been raised from the previous discussion. Firstly, the importance and value of the event management degree will be presented. Secondly, the impact of social media in events. And finally, this podcast will feature an interview with industry expert James Cannell on the legacy of mega events such as 2012 Olympic. Thank you for listening until now, and I hope you enjoy all the podcasts and you take away some really good ideas, and it will make you be very passionate about this industry because I truly love it. Thank you. I have approached the issue of event management as a profession due to long-lasting personal interest on this matter. Firstly, the definition of a profession according to the Oxford Dictionary 2014 is a paid occupation, especially one that involves prolonged training and a formal qualification. From this definition, it can be presumed that event management is in fact a profession, as it is a paid occupation that is also a university bachelor's degree course in many universities all over the world. Cruz et al. 2004 provides an definition supporting events as a profession, mentioning that professions usually have a body of knowledge, and event management has a body of knowledge. MBOK. This is cited from Bodwin et al. 2010 and Bladen et al. 2012. Another definition of professionalism include Millerson's 1964 study that looks at 6 core traits of a profession, and Wilensky 1964 5 stages for development of a profession. Both definitions of the profession contradict events management as being a profession. One of the main focuses of this being that there is no formal code of conduct within the events management industry. Because of this uncertainty and contradiction in the definition for a profession, it is hard for event managers to establish whether or not they are in fact classified as professionals. Even Bladen et al. 2012, one of the most recent books on event literature, states that event management is still not considered to be a profession. Nevertheless, the earlier definitions by Millerson 1964 and Wilensky 1964 were designed to be applicable to occupations such as doctors, lawyers, and engineers, which are quite traditional professions. Nowadays, there are more jobs emerging due to development in the technology. For example, social media managers, which didn't used to exist in 1960s, states The Guardian 2014. It is because of this that the research by Quish 2000 and Frost 2001 criticized the traditional definitions, stating that they are out of date, therefore cannot be applied to today's occupation. Event managers do, however, need to address this issue, that there is no formal code of conduct, which is important to have, regardless of wherever or not event management is a new occupation. Another issue that event managers face in relation to their occupation being a profession is the fact that there are criticism regarding event manager graduates not having enough experience, and that experience combined with academia would be more ideal than just having a qualification, as stated in City Magazine 2014. Because of this, universities need to understand that in order for their students to be fully equipped and prepared to enter in a new industry and to meet their employees' needs, they need to have formal experience working in events, not just volunteer experience. Incorporating an equal balance of experience with academic learning would definitely help employees feel more confident when employing graduates, as they will be able to see from the course contents that the person they are employing not only has developed understanding academically, but also has been able to apply this in real life setting. Some universities could probably set up shadowing schemes for their students to establish event managers to aid in this as well. For example, our university, University of Greenwich, has a shadowing scheme program, and also we have challenges as event planning opportunities, delivering lectures and assisting in many events that run throughout university. This might also be a good way for event students to explore which sector of events industry they would prefer to work in, resulting in graduates that are specialized in their chosen event sector. Now, on 2014 Confex conference I attended, I realized how important it is to both network and keep up to date with the industry. One of the reasons I went was because of a debate I was interested in attending: academia meets industry to address the real industry. As a soon to be graduate, I seem to have become even more concerned with understanding how the events industry links with academia, mainly because I am at the point where I am having to apply for jobs and justify the last 3 years of my life. The panel consisted of mixed educators and industry professionals. It was a very interesting debate that mainly focused on the question: how highly regarded are event management degrees in the industry? Honestly, I wish I could have walked away with a clear reassurance that there is a benefit from doing a 3 years degree in event management. It became clear that those in industry value experience over everything. Sadly, there was an obvious lack of communication happening between the industry professionals and academics, and the overall consensus was that while these degrees in general are useful in providing students with skills such as time management, an events management degree doesn't necessarily set you above others, and it shall always be the experience that gives you the edge. That isn't to say that studying an events management degree is irrelevant and gives you no benefits. Nis Arad pointed out that to get your foot in the door of the events industry, a degree is very useful. But companies will also look for more flash and a passion for the events industry. Garrett DiMello agreed in saying that companies do recognize events management degrees, but students need to be able to show that they can hit the road running. And both Glenn Bodwin and Matt Bunday agreed that more needs to be done between linking the industry and academics, and students need to be aware that they cannot do a 3 year degree and just walk into a job. The thing that most stood out for me was Garrett's final point about how event students seem to have a misconception about what the event industry is like, and graduates tend to only think about how to deliver events rather than why the event is being held. So, is there a need to study in events management training for 3 or 4 years? Well, this experience is deemed the most valuable aspect when applying for jobs. There are immense number of skills that you can learn while at university. University has allowed me to grow as a person and figure out what my skills and passions are. And for that, I know studying a 3 years degree has been worth every bit of it. Events management degrees certainly have their merits. They demonstrate to the employees that a graduate has a genuine interest in the field and is able to offer a theoretical way of handling projects. For example, Kevin Levner, head of events at Millbrook Events, says that there are, however, problems with relying too much on the qualification work. Qualification in events management do equip students with a theoretical building block on which to begin their careers. But he generally believes that there is no substitute for experience, both from an employee's perspective and from one's own personal development. As with many industries, there is a certain level of dissociation between the academia and the real world. It's not just the students who benefit from placements, but lecturers and employees too. Ideally, he states, the academic and practical sectors need to work together to create a truly integrated offering and ensure students really are getting the best start to their careers. Kevin Levner, head of events, Millbrook Events. The second topic of this podcast is social media. I'll briefly introduce you to the topic of social media in events. From the literature reviewed in social media, one definition that comes to mind is a group of interest-based applications that built on ideological and technological foundations of Web 2.0 and that allow the creation and engage of user-generation content. This definition has been provided by Kaplana et al. 2010, page 61. The emergence and development of social media has impacted immensely on marketing strategies throughout business and organizations, as well as in communication between individuals on a day-by-day basis. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Taobao are currently some of the most commonly used forms of social media according to Aldin et al. 2012. In December 2013, Facebook had 757 million daily active users on average, reported by Newsroom, and growing. There are many different mediums, but the one thing that they all have in common are the dependence they have on user creating the content. Social media is a basic tool which has revolutionized into a powerful and widespread platform which is transforming even the events industry. Social media has been used in events to market themselves because there are millions of people surfing online in today's generation, which increases the chances of the two-way interaction between customers and event companies. Even I use social media, who doesn't? The podium makes sharing information, creating event groups, coordinating event details, and getting feedback much more easier. This level of interaction can help design the events to be most suited to the customer's demands. This is a win-win situation anyway. Thereby, most of event organizers know how to get the maximum volume of attendees and customers through social media. Anyone with access to the internet is able to utilize these communication platforms to express their ideas, their feelings, their opinions to the rest of the global online community. It is because of this empowerment that social media gives to the individual that social media has become so popular. Businesses and organizations have also learned to use social media to their advantage as it is a cost-effective tool, practically free, marketing tool which allows them extremely close, intimate access to their customers and consumers. While of course this can be seen as mostly positive, in reality social media can have detrimental impacts on an event or any other business or organization if they do not manage their online profiles, especially the communication between the event and the event attendees. Firstly, everything and anything that is posted about an event on social media websites by its attendees is out of the event's control. It is therefore imperative for events to closely monitor the activity surrounding the event to ensure that any impacts, problems, or complaints that attendees bring up are resolved immediately to avoid negative word of mouth. Dennis 2013 describes the social media as the new word of mouth. This means that events need to allocate the management of social media to one person or a small team of people, meaning the event needs to invest more time or more money on new employees to ensure that the event's reputation is not damaged by social media. The issues that are brought up need to be dealt with before they go viral. There are many examples throughout case studies in Aula 2008 research that go into detail of how the poor management and monitoring of social media has led to negative impacts on a company's reputation, as well as how consumer has used social media to shed light on a company's poor conduct, also resulting in a damaged reputation for the company. Events are also negatively impacted by social media due to higher expectation created by feedback throughout attendee comments, queries that events have to satisfy in order to keep their attendees happy. Also, attendees' feedback can be so powerful and it can shape and direct the event regardless of the event's management or regional plan. If the majority of an event's attendees demand more sustainability for an event, for example, then costs that event have allocated to other areas of the event needs to be reallocated to improving sustainability, or else the event risks losing its loyal customers. Events can also be targeted for social media attacks by the rest of the online community if they are found out to be unethical, for example. This can also seriously damage an event reputation, and so events need to strive to be as honest as possible to avoid any negative media. This can be a problem if events do not have finances to improve such things as sustainability or ethicalness. Finally, already existing events that have not yet incorporated social media are forced to learn how to use it, regulate and monitor the activities on these platforms regarding their event to ensure that the event reputation stays positive and intact. According to Blayton et al. 2012, this can take up more time, which in events is a very vital and valuable resource. From this, it is clear that all event managers need to have a full understanding of how the social media use is managed, and also they need to make sure that adequate reputation management strategies are put in place in case of any attendee dissatisfaction, making sure that any complaints and issues are dealt with and do not go viral. The truth is, the emergence of social media has significantly altered the strategies that companies use to communicate with customers. With social media offering a sustainable and low-cost marketing tool for event managers, who doesn't use it? There are currently more than 16 million events created on Facebook each month. And the use of Facebook allows direct contact between the company and the customers. What more do marketers want? In addition to this, applications such as Instagram allow live streaming and post pictures from events, which can increase awareness of the event and encourage individuals to attend if they see a positive picture. It can be concluded that the increasing role of social media has a great effect on those working within the industry and those entering the industry as well, as the way in which events are marketed has shifted to a more digital frame, with traditional methods such as flyer and posters becoming less effective and too expensive. Event managers need to have knowledge of the use of social media. Those entering the industry will now have to educate themselves on the role and how to effectively use social media to market and enhance the event experience, and how to effectively overcome the challenges of such a live and uncontrolled communication method. As well as attendees can promote the event, they can also spread negative feedback. In this part of the podcast, I will be talking about the concept of event legacy, a very contemporary issue indeed. I had the utmost pleasure and honor of interviewing one of the leading experts in the field, James Cannon. My interest in this matter dates back to the very beginning of this course, and recently it has been rekindled by a paper I came across. Press 2007 on the conceptualization and measurement of mega sport events legacies. It comprised of an interesting take of the concept of legacy. Proust explains that in the literature he has viewed, an accepting definition of legacy still hasn't been confirmed. But legacy in events is very difficult to define. The International Olympic Committee in 2006 clarifies event legacy by saying it captures the value of sports facilities and public improvements turned over the communities or sports organization after the Olympic Games, which sounds rather long-winded and complicated and vague. Well, event legacies has three main obstacles process. First, measuring the net rather than the gross legacy. Second, come to a decision about whether the legacy has a positive or negative impact. And third, long-term measurement of legacy over a period of time. Now, event legacies can be measured in two most commonly used ways. First, by using benchmarking, which is used to forecast legacy in the course of the planning stage. This is, of course, supported by experiences from past mega events. The second measurement technique is using macroeconomics indicators, which exposed to find evidence for legacies process. Nonetheless, it can be argued that the above floor measurements and therefore Pross puts forward an alternative technique. It is called the bottom-up approach. Interesting name. This is said to be a better suited measure, as all changes of structure due to the event are considered, he says. On page 212, he continues, the approach is based on a long-term development plan for the city. Consequently, the plans for the future city development represent the without case, the city development that will take place without the event. Now, I found this as a very interesting opinion and a very interesting approach. But if we look at London more broadly, one can argue that it is already one of the top tourist destinations. Why choose London to host such an event as the London Olympics 2012 instead of smaller cities which could benefit more from this kind of exposure? James Cannon answers.
Well, you need to be a city on a certain scale to even think about hosting something like this. Smaller cities just can't cope with an event of this size. And really, London's almost full to bursting for tourists. If you're here, especially places like Greenwich in the summer, which have got the equestrian events at the moment, normally when you go there, it's absolutely heaving. And these kind of developments are about spreading the tourism around London, creating new destinations for tourists to come to, and making sure that London stays competitive.
So how effective do you think that has been?
Well, at the moment, it looks like it's been fantastically effective. I mean, you have millions of people coming to a part of London that people, even local people, didn't visit 5 years ago, let alone 10 years ago, and you hope that carries on into the future. It's a bit of a gamble, but with the new transport links, all these new venues, you hope they continue to attract people.
Yes, I understand. As you said, you can't truly measure the success of a legacy until you have a number of years away from the event. What do you think the legacy will be for this event? Do you think it will continue to thrive, or is there a danger?
I think what we've learned from all this sporting success over the last couple of weeks is that if you want things to succeed, you have to invest in them. There has to be political will, there has to be a large amount of money spent, there has to be popular support, and it's those things that we hope we can learn from the sport that will support the legacy. For this stuff to work, we really need to be looking at it in 10 years' time, in 20 years' time, and it's only then that we'll really be able to tell.
James, what about the benefits for the rest of the country? Do you think it's going to spread away from London into other regions?
It's unrealistic to think this project is really going to have a massive impact in Birmingham or Manchester or Glasgow, and we shouldn't really be judging it like that. Obviously, the politicians have to sell it like that to get people to accept spending the money, but we didn't expect the Commonwealth Games in Manchester to transform East London, and we shouldn't expect the East London Games to transform East Manchester.
Yes, I agree. That is usually the political approach. Do you agree that what has been created now would lead to a better environment?
People have been calling for the government to spend big on infrastructure, on big new developments in a recession to create jobs, and this is exactly what we're seeing here. This is what people have been calling for. Inevitably, there are winners and losers, but you hope that the winners outnumber the losers. There are always going to be people who are dispossessed or people who feel like they've lost out when you're building an airport or a bridge or a motorway, and that's what we're seeing here, just on a very big scale.
Then what is your overall opinion?
The point of the legacy of the games is not that it's all brilliant, but that some things are good and some things are bad. London has a housing crisis. There's an opportunity here to fix some of that, and it should be taken, and people should be engaging with that, not throwing the whole baby out with the bathwater.
Thank you very much, everybody. James Fennell. This has been a broadcast on Skype. That is why you have differences in the recordings, my voice and his voice. You can hear some noise in the background. Now, concluding on this topic, it's fair to say that legacy of mega sporting events can be perceived in several ways. It can be seen as positive, as negative, tangible or intangible, territorial or personal, international or just national, global or local, short or long term, sport or not sport related. And it can also be seen from various event stakeholders' perspectives, such as local community or government or companies that are involved or attendees. In fact, it is much more appropriate to talk about legacies in the plural than simply legacy. It would be appropriate to conclude that legacy, essentially, is a dream to be pursued rather than a certainty to be achieved. Thank you.